made his way now to that court in Manhattan. Now let's go to India, where the country's farmers have occupied railroads and highways today as they've continued to press their demands for higher prices for their crops. The farmers are demanding minimum price guarantees for a range of crops as well as debt relief. Farmers staged mass protests back in 2020. That was after India's government proposed loosening the rules on farm prices. But those laws, after months and months of protests, were eventually repealed. The farmers who are now back at the protest lines say they want to remind the Indian government of its promises. Well, to discuss this a little bit further, I'm joined now by our correspondent in Delhi, Nitin Srivastava. Good to talk to you, Nitin. We are seeing more farmers now gathering at the border with Delhi. Let's start with where they are right now, because we saw in the last couple of days that the security forces and the police were firing tear gas to push them away from Delhi. Have the farmers been able to get closer to India's capital?
Well, the farmers are still about an hour and a half away from the exact borders of Delhi, which, as you rightly said, are completely fortified, sealed, barricaded with barbed wire and whatnot. Today, the farmers decided not to push into the capital because of two reasons. One, they had decided to block train routes in the state of Punjab, and reports have been coming in that at least 5 to 7 stations and train services have been disrupted. And secondly, the Indian government has asked 3 of its senior cabinet ministers to hold talks with farm leaders. So as we speak, the farmer union leaders and these 3 senior ministers are in talks, in negotiations in the state of Punjab, the capital, which is Chandigarh. And now both the sides are actually waiting about the outcome of the talks. The farmers say if the talks remain inconclusive, they will really push forward with their demands tomorrow. And tomorrow there is a nationwide strike called by the Farmers Union, which is also supported by some political parties and unions.
And if this all comes in an election year for India. India's government in the past said it wanted to modernise the agriculture sector, but in the end it backed down from those changes. What are we expecting to see in the months ahead as we approach that general election?
Well, it's going to be a very precarious situation because, as we all know, that India is still primarily an agrarian economy, and there's a huge number of voters who are farmers spread all through the country. And back in 2021, when the year-long protest, which also took more than a dozen lives, happened, there was countrywide support to the farmers, the protesting farmers. And similar sentiments are being seen not just in North India, but in South, East and West India as well. And the elections, the general elections, are just a few months away. So definitely the government is trying its best to avoid a confrontation like it happened 2 years back, and sort of go into the elections in a rather upbeat mood, rather than being in a confrontationist mood with the farmers who have the backing of the peasantry all through the country.
Nitin Srivastava with that update on those protests in India.